Hi, good afternoon all. Oh, we only, we three only joined from other meeting to you.
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
maybe less.
Good, good.
Yeah.
I saw like around 7, 8 new people join this work stream. Interesting whether they'll come to calls or not.
Well, and I just got hung up on by the work stream. I was in, and then it said the leader disconnected or something. I don't know. Usually the leader is me or Yogesh when we log in, but
Oh,
I saw
I
that
don't-
too when I was trying to join this meeting. It just said the host has ended the meeting.
yeah.
even
So
last year it showed that problem, like for 1 or 2 times. Okay,
maybe it's a Zoom flakiness.
yeah. It was good.
So
Good
I'll,
to you all at the OCP. I think all of us met. Yeah.
almost. I mean, I think Dean wasn't there, and I didn't see Seb there. Um, so let's give people a minute to join. I'll ping Yogesh too. Um, I expect him to join, but I don't know. I haven't talked to him this week. We missed our one-on-one. So I think there are a couple things we need to do today while we wait for folks to join. One is I think it would be good for us to talk a little bit about what happened at the Global Summit and catch everyone up. And then the second thing is, of course, working through the future work stream topics. So, are there other agenda items today?
I have a question actually, Drew, for this forum. I got from OCP a paper on silent data corruption in AI. And so it seems that paper has been written by, I don't know, a subcommittee of OCP and maybe a subcommittee of this hardware fault management. But
No, it's the SDC and it's the SDC's resilience work stream subproject.
yeah, so I couldn't find that work stream, or like, how do we get to, I don't know, either attend that, get invited, or
It's a closed CLA work. So I participate in it, right? So it's a closed CLA work stream limited to 7 companies. Microsoft,
okay.
Google, Meta, NVIDIA, AMD, Intel, and ARM.
Okay.
So all 7 companies have, representatives there.
But I guess if you're interested in joining, there's no harm in reaching out and asking, right? Vilas, I mean, I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
so I said, forget, where do you work?
Ampere.
Ampere. Yeah. So you should probably reach out to Amber Huffman at Google
Oh, okay. Okay.
and ask.
Okay.
I'll say this way: we've had others reach out in the past, and generally, not been in favor of having them join. However, they've been, I'd call it, more ancillary to the core problem. But I think Ampere is, more like you design silicon, so like, it's kind of it's a core sort of, thing that you work on. So I suspect they'd be more open to you joining, but ask Amber. I mean, she's
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's kind of the gatekeeper, right? So
I'll reach out to her. Thanks.
Yep.
okay. So with that, why don't we talk a little bit about what happened at the Global Summit just to catch folks up. We had some RAS API, well, there's some actually kind of big RAS API progress in my mind, so we can talk about that. Was there other stuff we wanted to cover? I mean, like Vilas or Neil, you have other takeaways you want to mention?
I think one thing we discussed briefly at OCP is like publish like 1 year roadmap for each work stream, like either CLA or like across, yeah, RAS API, FFM, or GPU RAS or CPU RAS, so that like we don't overlap each other, right?
Well, that was the purpose of that Visio drawing I had, but yeah, I agree. I mean, like we should be coordinating what we're working on.
Yeah. For next, let's say minimum 1 year, like what each work stream is driving towards, so that like we can leverage, like each other's work stream outputs. Yeah. That is one open I have. Yeah.
So, okay, yeah. And then another thing I think was our talk was reasonably well attended for the combined work streams. And I've been getting some email interest from people. I am not sure if they're a good fit. Some of it seems like, proprietary network stuff for error containment. I'm like, I don't know about that, but we'll see. So we may have some new folks joining, and that would be wonderful. Oh, and it looks like we do have someone new today. So Edlick, I think is your name.
Yep, that's correct. Yep. So
Welcome. We're happy to have you. Do you mind introducing yourself?
yeah, I'm from Brampus. So just trying to just at the beginning trying to see what we can do and understand the work group stuff. So that's why I was here.
Okay, this is good. And kind of that roadmap Rama was talking about a moment ago will help us coordinate a little bit. And by the way, it is best practice, if you don't mind, to try to put and I thought I'd done it. I guess people know I'm Microsoft, but I usually try to make my name show up as, Drew Walton, Microsoft. So I'll try to fix that. But
it gets reset every time.
oh,
It doesn't reset for me. I just changed it in the Zoom
Yeah.
settings.
So you can technically log into Zoom with your company account, and then I think it sticks, but you have to set up a company, whatever, right?
no, I don't have an account. Okay.
No, I don't
Nor
have
do I.
account actually. I don't have account actually.
Oh.
Because, yeah.
Yeah, mine got reset today. Usually I
Mine-
have AFD
yeah.
written, but it is.
Mine got
Actually,
reset too. So
yeah, when you're joining, it asks name, like you can edit it.
okay. Yeah, so anyway, I'll fix mine real quick, but it's just it may help new folks as they join if we put our company name.
I missed Ed, like which company you mentioned you're from?
Rambus.
Rambus. Okay, good.
Yeah, so this is
Welcome.
great. Yeah, perfect, Ed. Thanks. And so we're and Vilas, yours changed too. So yeah, I think that you'll get a feel for what the different work streams are working on and what we're pondering. And I think given the emails I saw from Rambus folks, it may be that you also are interested in the fleet memory fault management. And you're welcome to attend that as well.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's another open forum, so anyone can join. Okay, so the other thing that happened was we had a meeting among folks working on the RAS API, a few of us, and we chatted about how we're going to push things forward. And so I'm just mentioning it here. We'll drive it there, but what we want to do is we're working with Harry Ramachandran at Microsoft, who's our DMTF rep. He is going to help us take a RAS API prototype. He's going to build that with us as we define the redfish mapping for RAS API. We're going to review that in the RAS API team, and when we're satisfied as a team that it looks right, then he will help us carry that forward into DMTF for DMTF approval. And we'll build a simulator. So like I have the simulator now, but it's not right. So we're going to work on it a little bit before it doesn't reflect the work we've done. It doesn't know the right interfaces yet, but it will be something that you can just download and run. So it'll be limited to people participating in the RAS API team initially, just because of the CLA. And the CLA and the RAS API group is not intended to keep people out. It is intended to protect the spec. So if you're willing to sign the CLA, you can join RAS API. We'll initially review it there. When we think it's right, our goal is to publish the spec and the simulator in sync and go to DMTF. And that way people can download we like to put the simulator on GitHub as open source. And then what Carlos and I are working on for our proof of concept is a really simple collector that would be in the same GitHub repo that will make calls to the RAS API over RESTful, Redfish interfaces. It will get error logs, send them to a fake analyzer. The fake analyzer will be able to generate a CPAD. We'll send a CPAD back over Redfish to the simulator, and the simulator will send the status back to the analyzer like it would in a real data center. And so our goal there is to allow people to kick the tires pretty easily, to just download some code and try it out so that we can get better feedback. And then we'll also be a little bit more rigorous in defining this for DMTF. They have a better process for approving specs and making sure that they're well defined and agreed upon. And we'll want to do that with PLDM as well. And so Samer at ARM approached us, and he wants to do the mapping for PLDM. And we'll like Microsoft's driving the Redfish, if ARM's driving the PLDM, it doesn't mean we're just going off on our own. So, like I know that Vilas, you have some things you want to work out with us. We'll be very transparent about. Once we have something that's even remotely worth showing, we'll give it to you very quickly. It'll be kind of half-baked, what we show you initially. And I'll encourage the PLDM discussion to be the same, is that, as soon as we have like something very, very basic to review, we'll get very early feedback. And if you want to engage earlier, I encourage it. So reach out to us if you, want to talk about these things early, and we'll of course be discussing it in RAS API. Our goal with the Redfish is hopefully by the end of the year to have, kind of this rough thing working that folks can start reviewing. And Shibata, you were in that meeting, and Vilas, you heard a lot of that conversation too, so keep me honest. But hopefully that makes sense to folks.
Yep. Yeah. And
Yep.
we're aligned, right? Like, it would be good to have Hari and others drive the PLDM spec, and we can use that for mapping on different communication channels that we've been discussing. So that's good.
Okay. And Vilas, it sounded like you were going to say something?
Well, it's just agreeing.
Okay. Okay. So I think with that, and then and we have someone new join. This is awesome. So we're having new people this week. It's wonderful. So it looks like we have someone named Paul or Pollock.
Yes. Hi, this is Paula Chen from NVIDIA.
Oh, okay. It just said Pollock, so I'm like, I don't know who that is. Okay. Hey, welcome, Paula.
Hi, Drew.
Glad to have you. Yeah. Okay. So with that, are there any other updates from the Global Summit? We had a fun flight. So I will try to do it with other people if we have time on future get-togethers. But I took Vilas and Mida on a bay tour. So we flew up the peninsula and flew over SFO, watched the planes launch under us, and then looked at Treasure Island and Alcatraz and stuff. Flew over the Golden Gate Bridge. So anyway, I like doing that. If we can arrange a trip in the future, I can take a few people at a time. And I didn't scare Vilas too bad. Everyone wanted me to take pictures of Vilas looking terrified, but he did not look too scared.
I held it in well. Yeah.
Have you uploaded the photos already?
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Yeah, let me.
I want to
I'll
see
share-
the pictures.
Yeah, I'll share the photo album for here. And I just didn't open it because I didn't want it to make it, I didn't want to make it like global to the world. But this is a invitation only photo album that I will share with anyone here. We're not trying to keep it secret. I just didn't want to put it out for, the whole universe to see. But it's for this team. So here's the Google photo album. So you can request access, and I'll give it to you. And if you already have access, you can give other people on the team access. Okay, and then there's some good pictures of presentations as well. And then a few fun flying pictures, just because flying is fun. Okay, so with that, why don't we, oh, and I'm sorry, one other note is Yogesh, being the character that he is, met the CEO of OCP and brought him to our evening social. And so he has one of our fault management stickers. And I'll print more for folks that didn't get them. But it was a lot of fun, and we missed you. And if you can come next year, please come. And I don't know if I'll have this sticker next year, but I'll print more. The strongest steel is forged in the fire of a dumpster. So let me know if you want one, and I'll try to get it to you. Okay, so with that, let's jump in to if it's okay with folks, the list of things we want to work on next. And I'll share that link as well. And that spreadsheet is in the share drive, so many of you should already have access. And I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong window. Okay, so there's the future work streams. And I'm a little bit slow. Okay. And here are the future work stream topics that we're discussing. So I was imagining, if it's okay with you all, we just walk through them, and we can do T-shirt priorities and say high, medium, high, low, and then look at the high ones and pick among the high ones for some of the stuff we do next. Does that sound okay?
Yeah. Like true, like we will add maybe other 2 CLA work streams also, maybe even SDC, right? Yeah.
Well, I think we can. Is that okay? I mean, the REST API being an open CLA, I was willing to add it. If you're willing to add the closed CLA ones, that's
Yeah. Reason is like I want to make sure like we want to leverage even closed CLA work streams. The work is done by other work streams so that it doesn't get duplicated, and yeah.
Sure. So there's the SDC work stream.
Yeah.
Or
And
they call it data resiliency, but it's SDC. And
yeah.
and then what's the other one?
You can call GPU RAS.
Yeah.
And CPU debug RAS. Yeah.
Okay. And I'll work on a format for them. I think what we should do is debug. I think we should also highlight, that like some of them are closed and open. So like if Seb has a question, if people really care about a topic, maybe what we do is we put a point of contact like Amber, for people to reach out to if they have a concern about a topic those groups are covering.
Yeah, and also there is a hardware management as a good picture. Maybe not now, like later we can create one for fault management. Just to like if somebody want to see like one view where we are working on, and I'll share the hardware management picture. We can build something similar to that.
Okay.
True for
That sounds good.
your other groups. I added one to the chat that I know exists, but I don't know how far they've gone or what they're doing anymore.
I don't know what, yeah, I'm confused because there's a closed CLA group and an open CLA group.
That one's not closed.
Yeah, right. That's the open one, and this is the closed one. So I'm just like, I don't know. Should I don't know how to deal with that. Rama, what do you want to do? Like you are you
What is the question? Sorry, I was looking for that picture. I missed.
So the question is, what about the closed CLA diags group and the open CLA group?
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. There is some work going on to uh, address that. Okay, it will take some time. We met at the OCP, and like I think Intel, one of the engineer hosting, he started attending the closed CLA work stream, right? And I think at OCP, a lot of people asked questions. Hey, what is the DC data center debug means? What is the scope? What is the out of scope? What is in scope? Because people have a lot of questions. Data center has so many components, right? That work stream is still evolving. Like what is the scope and all that. I think give us like 2-3 weeks, maybe we will get to some answer.
Okay. So I'm just going to make one work stream and you know and like open and closed CLA work streams exist, resolution or I'll say roles and responsibilities pending. How about that? And we'll just have to like, well, we'll have one for the moment that we know about, and then as we learn about the other one, we can add it. Because Dean, you know, it's there, but I don't know what to make of it. I don't understand. I wish we could just have one, you know, more open group. And this one, oops. So I'll say closed CLA group. And I'll mention that on the other one. STC is closed. And then RAS API, start one row above, and that's an open CLA group. So anyone that's willing to sign it can join. Okay. So let's go through these topics then for starters. And I think what we can do is for FM, FM, and RAS API, I can work with those groups to coordinate. And then you know GPU RAS Rama can help us, and maybe I don't know, we can find Rama or someone else can do CPU debug.
Yeah, I can help with those two. Maybe I could get help from others. Yeah, I can help.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good. Okay, so I think this is done. You know, I did a poison presentation, and we talked through kind of the content of the document I provided. So if there's feedback on the doc, I welcome it. And there's a link to the document here, and I can put a link on the presentation as well. Update to fault management requirements. This is all the stuff we didn't finish. So, you know, I think I'm going to call that a high priority. We'll just have to list those out. So I'll work through the document and list them. But if we do the T-shirt sizes for now, if we can agree on those, and so if someone says that's not high, tell me. But I think like getting our document right seems high. Another thing that VLOS suggested was, and multiple people actually, that we have kind of a range of ways we map severities between CPER, the RAS API, and the requirements doc. And I'll call it the hardware fault management requirements doc. So,
I think this will go into maybe next revision of.
yeah, I think it's kind of high because we need it for the RAS
Yeah,
API, and
yeah.
I'm finding that like people I talk to inside Microsoft, I had a discussion with the dean about it, recently that we need to like align on how the severities are used. So Dean, this is kind of that discussion where I had with you and VLOS, where we say a deferred error is informational, it's stuff like that. So, how do we map that, and then how do we line that up with what we put in the doc?
So is that just part of updates to fault management requirements? Sort of like, is that?
It's a particular one, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for that one, Drew, I would maybe suggest that we just figure it out in the RAS API and then kind of bring it in here as say, here's what we want to do, see if anyone's objecting and then just update the doc, right? Does that seem right? Otherwise, we'll end up working on it in two different places. And
Okay, we can, if that's okay with folks, we'll start with the RAS API and bring it back here for review. But we want it to go in, I think, the infrastructure requirements too. Like,
yeah. But we bring it here for review. If everyone's okay with it, we just make one update to the doc, send it out for review, and then be done. Right.
Okay. If that's okay with people, I'm writing what you said down. Okay, that sounds good. Okay, and then scenarios is just kind of there's some PCIe scenarios that I think we were going through, and we went through Mita's. About Mita, I'm not sure. Like we needed to do I felt like there was more to it. I don't know. I'm not sure we did it justice, but I defer to you.
Yeah, one question on that, right? I think some of the learnings, right? We are going to whatever covered Meta presented, right? We will go and update the one of the spec. Is it hardware fault management, or we'll come up with a?
Well, so there are two things. So Ram, if you remember right, we had scenarios that were listed separately that we're writing up.
Yes.
And so that's the other thing we need to figure out is, I'll say scenarios. I want to change this one. How do we contribute them?
Okay.
Because we didn't want to put them in the doc because they'll hold the doc up. But I've written up a memory one. There's some poison ones.
So you view poison as a scenario also, so it should be part of the same list.
Well, the poison doc I wrote was just like a white paper for poison. I wasn't going through a scenario, but I could easily write some poison scenarios that say, okay, you have an uncorrected error in the cache. It generates poison, and that cache line gets evicted. But that would be what a scenario looks like, is where you kind of walk through the flow. Oh, and there is a poison scenario in the hardware fault management doc too. If that's what you mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't think we're going to put we have a separate scenarios doc today. I'm like a kind of a overview list, and then that links to other sub documents with more detailed scenarios. And I think that there's some flows that are worth going through as a group to get on the same page, so that we make sure that everything interoperates well. And we need to contribute those scenarios somehow.
Is the plan is like come up at a white paper of list of scenarios, or use the existing document appendix?
We have a list of scenarios. So I'll give you an example. Can you still see what I'm sharing? Can you see the OCP scenario?
We can
see these?
Yeah.
So that's an existing scenario. And we have a directory full of scenarios, and we have an overview list of scenarios. And so I'm working on this one, some in FMF, and we've talked about it some here as well. But I don't think that they're going to clutter up the requirements document. So I don't think we want to put too many scenarios there. And so we want them separate, and we want to have a way to contribute them.
We can always add them as references to the, to the main document, but they can live as separate entities other than that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Like only thing is how do the others will like aware of it, leverage this work, right? There's a lot of good work going on, uh like
Well, we also have it's not coming up when I type. Uh, let's see, scenario list. Here it is. Okay, so this is the list of scenarios. So I think we'll have a table of contents, and some key scenarios we want to walk through.
oh good. Like this is good. Yeah. Thank you.
So I think that's my proposal. I'll put the link to. Yeah, this is actually a link I should have in the doc. And so this is already on the SharePoint, but do we want to publish it? I think we need to have some sort of process for publishing it. And I'm going to put the memory one right here.
So I just dropped the link to the directory where the scenarios are being kept in the chat.
Oh, good. Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah, this will really help a lot of people start implementing and all. Yeah, thanks for, I think, putting into
And
one scenario document maybe help reach.
well, this is something Anil and I agreed to speed up the publishing the what do you call it, the doc, that we
Okay,
need.
yeah.
Oh wait, I goofed up. I didn't grab the right link. I'll add the link to the folder later. But anyway, we'll have scenarios that we want to walk through where we have a flow, where we say here, and there'll be probably a scenario for RAS API of what does it look like when you have, errors in a data center that go through the flow and get collected and analyzed and acted upon. And we don't want to clutter up the RAS API spec with that, but it's still a useful artifact. So if we have a location to go read that, and we can reference it in the RAS API and say, if you want to learn more about this, you can go through a walkthrough of one possible implementation here. And that way we keep it separate and clean.
Yeah, hey Drew, that reminds me of another topic which is related to the next line, right? We haven't talked about PCI errors in RAS API. So that's also something probably to be discussed in RAS API work group, but the discussion here will help with intercepting PCI errors in RAS API.
Sounds good. And you saw I just added it. So
Thanks.
yeah, thank you. That's good feedback. Yeah, and so Mita, I'm sorry you got cut off. We rambled, and I didn't come back to you. But I felt like we didn't quite do justice to the scenario you started.
Okay, we can then take another meeting and talk about it.
Oh, I'm not trying to make work for you either. I just thought maybe it sounded like there was some stuff we wanted to put in to make it crystal
Yeah, I
clear.
got some comments on it after that couple of times we talked about it. So maybe we can have another one and just go through that.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. And you put a link. Oh, you put a link to it, or you put a
The
link
link to the whole directory because I thought
okay.
that
Do
has
you
all.
mind putting a link to your scenario here?
Yeah, I'll do that.
That'd be wonderful. And then the other thing is normalizing DPC. I think there's more work to be done there. For instance, I would like to ensure that all data center processors support DPC and poison egress blocking. Like the ability uh, to stop a poison transaction. So I don't know what the best way to do it is, but I think it's fair for us to say, hey, and we can put in maybe the overall requirements doc if there's no better place, but there's some other requirements that we have and others in the GPU spec that I think are germane here as well. For example, if you get a UR does not contain data. Do not treat the UR as valid data. Same thing with a complete or abort. If you make a request on PCIe and you get a complete or abort, then you know, you're required to treat that as a failure of some sort. You should not pretend like everything's fine and use the data that didn't come. So I don't know what the best way to approach that is. I kind of wish Anil was here because, or is Anil here? Okay, because Anil would have opinions. But I think there's work here that is missing. And so how do we prioritize some of these things?
So I think things like scenarios, we can use them as almost like fillers.
Okay.
You know, and we've been doing that to some extent, right? As in when we have, you know, time or maybe when we get tired of the main doc, we then jump into scenarios, and that
Yeah.
seems about right because they're kind of bite-sized, and yeah.
So what I'm going to say is, how do we contribute them as a higher priority topic? But then the rest of them can just be fillers that we, you know, that we fill in as needed, unless there's
So
something higher.
it could be something like we're going through the main doc and we feel like we really need to dive into a specific scenario in order to come to an agreement about it. Then that's the time to start like just using, you know, just having a couple of meetings on that particular scenario.
Sounds good. And what I'd like to propose for memory, if you don't mind, is that like when FMFM is ready, we'll jump into like they'll do a thing and then we'll review it. So it'll become high when FMFM has something for us to review. And I think that hopefully that makes sense to people generally, that when another team gives us something to review, we try to prioritize their reviews the best we can. Does that track with you, Mita? Was that consistent with what you were thinking?
Yeah, yeah.
And Drew, you have a scenario normalizing DPC. So what about viral in general? Because
Oh yeah, I'd love to see viral become more normal. I'm passionately wanting more normalization of viral. So let's do this. We can insert or above, and it doesn't have to be viral specifically, but it's the concept. Sync flood is great too. I'm not downplaying AMD's solution either. Viral sync flood, types of containment. How about that? We'll call it that.
It's just fatal error containment, right?
Okay, I like that. Thank you.
Like one question, can we add like maybe pain points also, like one of the thing it will help, like what are we addressing with each line item maybe?
So rationale, I mean, we can add a rationale.
Yeah. Like, yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, but that one is big. And like I think it's there are problems there. So in many cases, not all cases. I have to compliment AMD on that. Sync flood is working nicely.
Thank Dean.
What's that?
I said thank Dean.
Oh, thank you, Dean.
It wasn't without complaints from one of your former employers who said it's good that you stop things, but you can't always go to that. So we have to know it's not a panacea.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
Good.
I agree with you.
Having said that, I do agree it's the right backstop.
And in the Air Force, we had a saying, when something painful occurs, we would yell, "Thank you, sir. May I please have another?" And so I might say that right now. That's not an Air Force officer thing. That's more of an Air Force Academy cadet thing to say. Okay, the next thing is, okay, CXL scenarios. We need to figure out the priority there. I feel like CXL has mostly good RAS plans, but the the other question I have is, how do we integrate, or how do we sync with CXL? Because I think some of the stuff that CXL is doing is maybe a little bit too independent. It like isn't necessarily always fitting in with the strategy we have here. So I don't know what to say there.
Actually, isn't a lot of like the OCP direction on a couple of fronts aligned with on CXL actually initially?
Yeah,
Well,
it aligns more, right? Because it keeps it independent, but it's not exactly the same way that we are proceeding, right? So we
yeah.
can take back the OCP RAS API proposal to them and see if they can comply with it in future. That's another way to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Like
gonna
using CPERS, right? I think that's something. They have their own record formats, and
it's kind of like
asking
what?
them to
Yeah.
comply with CPER would be first step.
So I'm gonna call CXL CXL alignment or something as a or something, right? Or some CXL.
Yeah, and I guess maybe I'll just give my standard, disclaimer warning here, right? When we're talking about other consortia or specs from other consortia, we have to be careful to not, tread on their, not inadvertently reveal, sort of consortium private information and not kind of, tread on their turf, so to speak, right? That doesn't mean we can't work on this stuff. We can. We just have to be a little cautious, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and mine is more about how do we sync with them. So talking with them, surely can't be against the rules because
no. I'm just it's just my standard. It's standard warning.
Yeah.
Right. That's all.
Yeah,
sure.
but to your point, Vilas, I think a big part of what the OCP is doing should be to drive some standards that are kind of independent of some
Right.
technologies, right? I see CXL as a technology that is creating some de facto standards, but it should be reversed.
Exactly.
And I agree, right? If we do something and then sort of, I'll just say push it to CXL, that's totally fine, right? The problem comes in if if we're starting to talk about CXL here and trying to figure out how it maps, and we were looking at the CXL spec, like that gets problematic, right? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And another thing that we could do that would be kosher is to have if we're a member of CXL consortium, have a CXL, OCP RAS meeting where it's a CX or everyone's a CXL member and it's a CXL NDA discussion. We can do that with PCI and we can do that with CXL as well. But then it's a normal CXL discussion, but we're discussing how does OCP fit into that, and everyone's a member, so we can do that too. Okay. So then memory scenarios will come. I'm going to put a question mark here. I'm not sure. We need to think about that for CXL. Error injection requirements are always a topic of passion. And there were.
Yeah. Sorry. This one, error injection requirements, I actually think this would be a really good use of time.
Okay. I'll call it high.
Yeah. Like, I mean, there's enough. It's a special purpose RAS action, right? So theoretically, the RAS API could specify how one provides an error injection request. But I think coming up with a set of requirements across different devices that we all agree on, I think that would actually be a very high value.
I agree.
I think we call it GPU RAS. I think it has some requests chapter. Maybe like review that and build on top of it. I would recommend.
Right, but that's focused on GPU. So I agree with you. We should build on GPU RAS spec and other. I mean, and there's probably stuff in the
spec. Yeah, any other spec and
yeah. Spec.
If we talk about the error injection,
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was saying that it would also help if we get the hyperscalers requirements around error injection, right? Like what kind of environment you hope to do this and those kind of things. It would be really helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with you. And there was this these, I may just merge these two. This, someone had added this down below, and then we had this one, and you know, I think we should just merge the two and then work through how we do it. But it's kind of the same thing.
There is something, and especially with, you know, linked to air injection, but in general with like RAS that is nowhere on the list is the intersection of RAS and security. Because from a security perspective, often we're constrained on where you can inject errors and true errors versus non-data errors, and the information that you can retrieve from error logs and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, some of that I think will be defined in like the debug work stream because they're doing debug dumps, which are obviously security concerns. But yeah, we should make sure we don't have holes here. You know, we can have a discussion on it, and but some may fit into other work streams too. Some of the work may be in work streams. But I say may, you know, we'll just have to discuss it and work through it. That's good. Thank you, Seb. That's a very interesting topic. And then
no, absolutely. I think that's an interesting topic, and specifically having authorized logging access, authorized error injection. So like authorized device RMA and vendor specific commands which are authorized. I think those aspects are also there.
Yeah, and some of those specs talk about it, so that's where, you know, we'll just have to have a discussion and try to fit. So some of them, maybe we can review the specs when we discuss this and say, here's what's in the GPU debug spec, and we can copy it because it should be published imminently, and so we can, or not copy it, but we can, you know, put it up on the screen and kind of, and then we can look at the CPU debug work stream. You know, like I think what we'll need to do is figure out what each work stream is doing and where the holes are and what we need to do to tie them all together.
Yeah. And I think my specific point, right, is we've got, you know, some set of requirements for GPUs, some set of requirements for CPUs. It would be nice to have a generalizable set of requirements.
Agreed.
So if I'm designing, like, I don't know, whatever, a NIC, I could use the generalized set of requirements to come up with my answer, right?
So can we generalize these four types of token, right, including that kind of thing, right? I'm trying to say
exactly. But
okay, I buy that. Yeah. Okay, the other thing I added, which is a hot spot of mine, is I'm on a crusade to get poison working in more places. And I'm finding that today we have to inject a poison in main memory, and then we have to convince the driver to send the poison out the link to the a PCIe device to get poison to see if a PCIe device handles poison correctly, and that is difficult sometimes. And so, you know, I'd like to be able to inject TLPs to a particular BDF and transaction type without adding a new transaction. It's just you know, there's some sort of, this matches the transaction type I'm supposed to flip the bit on. It flips the PTLP bit. And
I think we should tackle that as part of, if we're doing error injection requirements.
It is. I grouped it accordingly. Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah. But it is definitely in that that pile of requirements. So we're brainstorming. So, you know, if people have specific error injection concerns, I would encourage them to call it out. But we'll discuss them all as a pile of things and organize the pile, right? Okay. Then there's fatal error containment, which we've already talked about. There's error handling in auxiliary silicon. So voltage regulators, retimers. I think So one of the things that we talked about also with some of the RAS API folks is a retimer or a voltage regulator may not be smart enough to create a full CPER. For instance, it may not know what time it is, but it seems like it would be possible to have it pass up a CPER section and some information, any other information needed to create a valid CPER header for that device. And then we could get full RAS API CPERs from some of these devices. And so I would propose that we, this is something we want to get to. I don't think it's urgent, but I think that this is something we want to consider in the RAS API work stream at some point.
I need a little more help putting this in context. So how is it different than any other IP detecting an error and recording it?
The voltage sequencers are dumber. I mean, they're smaller, right?
They're not dumber than the IPs that just detect an error and record it. Right? There's some code somewhere running that collects those error records and turns them into CPERs.
But some of that code may not be so in like a big giant CPU or GPU, you might have a satellite management controller that can run firmware and do smart things for you. In a voltage regulator, they may not have a full firmware.
Well, let me say it differently. Drew, you're saying you're answering the right, but Dean, it's who owns the code. So for these dumb things, it's typically the BMC that would have to do that. And if the BMC has to understand every vendor's, thing, and it's an explosion of complexity in the BMC, right? So I think Drew's specific point here is it would be good if all of those dumb components, if the BMC could write one set of code that would then understand all of the dumb components and their errors, right? Maybe think about it that way.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I understand the scenario. I'm not sure. Now you're saying you want to standardize the look and feel of the dumb components.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Okay. I'm skeptical, but okay.
Yeah.
I'll get on board.
I'm not taking a position on the thing, but I'm articulating Drew's concern.
I mean, the way we've solved this in other similar cases with this whole discussion is the provider of the silicon provides plugins or other forms of software that are installed in the other box to take care of things, right? Like whether it's a data analyzer or a CPER builder.
The analyzer is certainly somewhere else. So, I'm not arguing that. It's
but
how do you build the error log?
But I'll just say, Dean, right? I think that's one possible answer here, right?
Okay, as long as we're open. When I see standards groups trying to tell the hardware how to do things, I get concerned. For really dumb things and very simple, like just log it in this format, yeah, maybe, but pushing a rope uphill. If we're willing to talk about different solutions to a requirement, so putting in a requirement, then I think we have better chance. But my original point was this seems very similar to problems we already know how to solve.
Well, we
so
haven't
see
solved
it as that difficult.
We have not solved it. It is extraordinarily difficult. So today, the BMC has to, if the BMC is going to talk to these things, it has to write code for each of them. And that is custom code for each of them because, TI and I forget some of the other vendors, they log their errors in different registers, different ways. But the problem is that I've seen cases where it looks like the GPU screwed up, it looks like the CPU screwed up, but there's some voltage regulator somewhere in there that says, hold on, I saw something kind of funky. I'm not sure if it was a brownout, but this sequence looked weird. And if I had known that, I would have blamed that rather than the GPU or the CPU. So we'll have a general requirement. I think there's going to be flexibility in the solution, but the goal is to get CPERs down the same pipeline so that we can compare what's going on in the small silicon with the other silicon in the system. And that is not a solved problem.
Should we go to the extent of saying that, these dumb things like VR should generate CPERs, or shall we say, we expect this class of devices to expose a set of data points, right? I mean,
Well, that's the
yeah,
point, but that's exactly where we're going. That's what we were
yeah.
trying to
I
say.
mean,
Is,
now with zipper, suddenly you're
no,
putting
no, no, no. But
it
hear what I
formal
said. Hear what I
structure.
said. But hear what I said. I said I would like those pieces of silicon to interact with a standard way with the BMC, such that we can generate a CPR. So the BMC might be able to do it, but the problem is the BMC should not have code for every new chip that comes along. It
I,
should be
I disagree with that. I disagree with that. That's what device drivers are all about, right?
So
That's what,
yeah,
I mean,
no,
code is flexible for a reason.
yeah. Hold on. So let me parse through again. The platform vendor should not have to write unique code for every device that comes along. Right? So Dean, like to your point, if there's a standard way to load a device driver for each of these VRs and that's the requirement, then that's fine. Right?
Yeah.
So
And that driver could report errors in a way that BMC could collect them and send them up to us to look at. Great. Problem solved.
Right. So again, I think I have to say, I've said this a few times, but let me say it again, right? Like when the RAS API, I think that, Drew, you've articulated two overarching goals, right? One is to just standardize like how errors get reported and so on. But a second independent goal is to reduce the integration work on the platform vendor side and specifically in the BMC. Yeah. And that is an independent goal, but it's a use.
I agree with you. Yeah. And Dean, one of the problems we have is that, vendor gives us some code and it was written for OpenBMC a year back. And the BMC's changed a little bit. And so now we're trying to forward port their driver, but the structure's changed. And the BMCs are kind of overloaded to begin with, so they don't have room for a lot of complicated drivers. And so I don't know what the solution is, but we need a way to make this easier for the BMC team.
So I'm willing to stop arguing my point if you're willing to stop arguing your point. We can move on. This is a future topic. We'll get to it, but we won't agree here.
Okay, sure. We'll bring the problem up again. Yeah. Okay. The next thing is NVMEs we've talked about. I think that I would call this lower priority because I think storage people already cover it. But I don't know. I mean, maybe we want to see their error logs.
I believe there are work groups within OCP which define the error logging formats, etc. for.
I'm going to call all the error injection high. And I think this one is medium. It's not top priority at the moment. But okay, I agree with you. So I'm going to just call it low for now because I think it's not the burning. I just don't see burning problems there. People are working on it. Yeah. Fatal error containment. Is that to me, I don't know. I need to think about that. I don't know what I need to think about what the priority is. I think there's some problem.
What is the gap right now? Like say like Intel, AMD, and ARM has some implementation.
No, they don't all. They don't all, and we don't all have it enabled.
Yeah. I didn't finish. Yeah. Maybe we need to write the gap, right? What is missing?
Well, I'm not going to call out vendors that don't have capabilities publicly here. So,
part of the point Rama is bringing up is how often does it happen? How even if there is a gap, does it happen frequently, infrequently? That's part of the setting of the priority, right? Is how much does it hurt? Not just theoretically, but really.
Yeah, things like transaction timeouts are one of the main reasons we see crashes. So it's
what does that have to do with this?
Well, usually you contain a transaction timeout with some sort of method like this.
So that, okay, so I'm okay with that, but that's nothing to do with viral and sink flood, which is, I thought fatal error containment was a good. Okay, now we need to be more granular about fatal error containment. So viral and sink flood are to prevent escaping of bad data that's not marked as bad.
Or,
What you just said is a different problem.
well, or loss of coherency, like when you don't know the scope of the damage.
Loss
So
of coherency is okay. It's not good. If it doesn't escape the bounds of the system into another system or permanent storage, it's partly contained already.
that's right, but the the problem is if you've lost memory consistency, you might have lost a snoop or something that's going to cause incorrect operation.
Again, operating incorrectly is okay if no data escapes, including to permanent storage. So we have to be a little more specific in terms of what you're defining here.
I agree
It's
with
no
you.
longer viral and sink flood.
But my point is if you lost memory consistency and you, then viral is a good answer for that.
Like, let me put this way.
No, you're stating answers instead of requirements.
Like I'm nobody says like publicly list the gaps in silicon vendors. Okay, the question is like, are we trying to standardize how they handle like fatal error, okay, without SDCs and whatever the reason, okay, and or there is some gap, okay, which exists across the silicon vendors, okay, not naming it, okay, what is that problem we are trying to solve, what is the impact, right? Okay, we are not trying to list, oh, like Microsoft CPU has this problem, AMD CPU has this problem, right? What are we trying to, what is the output, right? Like otherwise, we'll be taking on every problem in RAS and trying to spend time. What is that impact wise it will create once we do this? Is there like standardization so that like, oh, OS like supports, in this case, OS doesn't come because it's viral, it cannot, like, what is that we are trying to address?
Maybe we state the requirements. Maybe that's it. Maybe and Dean, I buy what you're saying. You know, maybe we need to state the requirement for such containment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think Rama was defining it perfectly for me. Understand what the gap is and then what the significance or urgency of that gap is.
Well,
yeah,
and like if it's a per vendor gap, we go to the vendor and work with them on
No,
their.
no, no. Functionally, what is the hole that you see, and what's the hole you're trying to fill? It doesn't matter what the vendor is. That's an example, but you're talking about a flow that you're concerned about, and so let's identify that.
Yeah, and I think even if like a vendor's implemented, let's say Sync Flood meets all the requirements, we can still state the requirements, and we just go, yeah, Sync Flood meets the requirements.
let me give you other example where I'm putting that E column, right? RAS API, right? It will go and like make our life easy to integrate, right? That is a big business impact, right? For some of these, right? Like say error injection, right? Hey, it will give a coverage, like it left shifts the
Well, this is
implementation.
SDC prevention.
Yeah, SDC prevention, right? Okay, if it is supported, everybody has it. Like we need to write, hey, this helps in SDC, but there is a big industry gap. Then we go and high prioritize, low prioritize. Right now, like ideas, right? We're trying to discuss. We need to discuss the impact wise, right? Hey, SDC, like this is causing current viral handling across the stack, x86 ARM as a big gap. We go and address or standardize. So like either human effort reduction or like impact wise. I think otherwise what will happen is we work on all this, the adoption becomes slower or like is good technology discussions, but the impact wise, right? Some things will make all our work like more visible. Yeah.
Well, so I mean, I don't think that viral error containment is an effort. It doesn't save you effort. It just contains corruption. But containing corruption is a good thing. So, and we can generally explain the value of that to our customers. So, right? So I think like I agree with you that like sometimes there'll be an effort reduction. Sometimes it's just protecting data. So
that is a big benefit. Yeah, more than reduction. Yeah, that is a bigger benefit than effort reduction. But yeah.
Okay, so we can talk about maybe the requirements there, and then we have private discussions with the vendors if they're not meeting the requirement.
Yes, that's true.
Okay.
We are running out of time also.
Yeah, we're over. Why don't we stop here, and I'll remember because we didn't prioritize it, but please take a look and add stuff if there's stuff that's missing.
I think Villas is worried his happy hour is like getting.
Oh, my happy hour started a while ago. Don't worry.
Well, he's already happy. So I mean, this is his happy hour.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Okay. Well,
Thank
thanks
you.
for the feedback.
Yep.
Let's come back to this list. But like I said, please, add like I think a few people suggested things. This is more brainstorming at the moment, and we'll prioritize the list. And like some of this is low, so we won't really consider it for now. But if it's high, we'll figure out how to prioritize the high items or more urgently.
Thank you, Drew and others. Yeah, this is good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for the feedback today. Really appreciate it.
Have a nice
I
weekend.
appreciate it.
You too.
Good weekend.
I appreciate it.